Welcome to the Full of Tracy Money Audio Commentary. This is Owen Tracy recording, and it is 3:46 p.m., and that is Central Time, and today is April 9th. Well, we had a mixed day on global markets. A lot of that has to do with what's happening in the oil market. And I'm increasingly thinking of oil as a volatility indicator. So, in the early hours this morning, prices were up, and a lot of that had to do with uncertainty about whether the Straits of Hormuz are going to open up or not. And then later in the day, we had the news that Israel and Lebanon's government are having direct talks. Now, that does not mean that they're going to stop bombing Hezbollah installations. And Iran has quite categorically said that they believe that the ceasefire extended to their proxies in much of the rest of the region. Neither the USA nor Israel thinks that is the case. So that's just one of the significant points of contention. But by and large, oil prices did not bounce all the way back up into the overhead range, which was a possibility. And investors continue to progress on the assumption that it's better that the two sides are talking rather than continuing to attack one another. So we're certainly in a more balanced environment. And that helped to support Wall Street. So just to put some numbers on it, the Nikkei was down about 0.75% today. The DAX index was one of the worst performers in Europe, and it was down over 1%. But, for example, then the French market was only down about a fifth of a percent, and the FTSE 100 was down very modestly. It was practically unchanged on the day. Then the Brazilian market was up 1.5%, and Wall Street, by I guess represented by the S&P 500, was up about 0.6%. So we're still seeing a little bit of risk on coming back in here, and certainly then when we think about what's going on in Wall Street, well, the S&P 500 is really not all that far away from an all-time peak again. So those are two good weeks on the upside. And it's the strongest performance we've seen from the S&P 500 in months. So that's a very clear bounce from the region of the 200-day moving average. And as long as the low holds, we can give the benefit of the doubt to the upside. So there's certainly the potential that we might have a little bit of bobbing and weaving by the time